Welcome to Crisis in Perception, where we examine the systems shaping our world one book at a time. So let's just jump right in. When we think of evil, we tend to picture something, well, monstrous, right? Something diabolical and larger than life. But what if that very expectation is our biggest blind spot? What if the most destructive evil doesn't show up with horns and a pitchfork, but with, say, a clipboard and a tidy schedule? To really get this, we've got to travel back to 1961. A brilliant philosopher, Hannah Arendt, flies to Jerusalem. She's there to cover a huge, historic trial for The New Yorker. And in the defendant's box is Adolf Eichmann, one of the main organizers of the Holocaust. You have to imagine the scene. The entire world is watching. They're all waiting for this big, dramatic confrontation with pure, radical evil. Everyone, the survivors, the press, the prosecutors, they all expected to finally look a true monster right in the eye. A fanatic, someone just brimming with hatred who masterminded the murder of millions. But that's not what Arendt saw. From her seat in that courtroom, she saw something else entirely. Something far more chilling, actually. The man in the glass booth, he wasn't some diabolical mastermind. He was, and this is her famous phrase, terrifyingly normal. Just a mediocre careerist. He used to be a traveling salesman for the vacuum oil company, for crying out loud. His most defining trait was a total, shocking inability to think from anyone else's perspective. And it's this incredible gap, this chasm between the absolute horror of the crimes and the stunning, boring mediocrity of the man who committed them that led Arendt to her most powerful and, controversial idea. She called it the banality of evil. Now, hold on, this doesn't mean that evil is just common or ordinary. Not at all. What it means is that the reason for evil, the motivation, can be terrifyingly banal. It's the kind of evil carried out not by hateful fanatics, but by people who simply stop thinking. People who hide from the reality of what they're doing behind rules and cliches and just following orders. So this is the absolute key. For Arendt, Eichmann's evil didn't come from some deep well of hatred or some twisted ideology. No, it grew out of an absence, a total vacuum, a failure to think. He wasn't thinking about the millions of lives, the human beings he was sending to their deaths. He was thinking about transportation logistics, deportation quotas, how to efficiently carry out the orders of his boss. So, how does this kind of thoughtless evil get so big, so catastrophic? Well, Arendt gives us this really powerful metaphor to help us understand it, a giant administrative machine. See, Eichmann wasn't driven by some evil passion. He was driven by what he called his duty. He even claimed he was following a warped version of Kant's moral law, basically rewriting it to mean his duty was to obey whatever the Führer wanted. By focusing only on the process, the train timetables, the logistics, he completely disconnected from the product of his work, mass murder. The machine just runs smoothly because the cogs inside it never ever ask what it's actually producing. Okay, and this is where Arendt's analysis stops being just about a historical figure. This is where it becomes a timeless warning for every single one of us. I mean, think about it. If ordinary people, just doing their jobs, can end up committing monstrous acts, then that forces us to look really hard at the systems we're all a part of, every single day. It kind of demands that we ask ourselves, what machines are we serving? And what are they really producing? And that, right there, is the gut punch from Hannah Arendt's work. Choosing not to think, refusing to ask questions, failing to put yourself in someone else's shoes, that's not a neutral, passive thing. It's an active choice. And it's a moral failure that lets the machinery of evil just keep on humming. It means that thinking critically isn't just some intellectual hobby. It's our first, and maybe our most important line of defense. Now, all the ideas in this explainer come straight from Hannah Arendt's profound and, honestly, challenging book, Eichmann and Jerusalem. To really understand the depth of her argument, we can't recommend it enough. Read it yourself or, hey, borrow it from your local library. For the full long-form deep dive into this book and its ideas, follow the link in the description. If you enjoy systems-level analysis like this, please subscribe and comment with books or topics you'd like us to explore next.